Okay, so this is the last lab activity of the semester. This is Module 12's lab activity about luminosity. And it's really a very simple interface. There's not a whole lot of controls that you have to mess with. Notice up in the upper left-hand corner, there are a couple of equations there for luminosity. The first one is the straight-up Stefan Boltzmann relationship between luminosity, the radius of a star, and the temperature of the star. Notice everything else are just constants, 4 and pi, and the Stefan Boltzmann constant. Those are just numbers. We don't really care about them. But notice that it gives you a value in units of joules per second. That's the luminosity given in joules per second. The amount of energy that the star is putting out every second, essentially, is what this number is. Now, to simplify matters, you can actually just compare the luminosity of some fictional star with the luminosity of the sun. And that kind of gets rid of a lot of these constants and stuff. So essentially, the relationship is dependent upon the radius of the star and the temperature of the star, and you get your luminosity in terms of this L with the funny symbol beside it. That's solar luminosities, meaning the luminosity of the sun. This particular star, since it has a luminosity of 1.00 L with the funny thing beside it, tells us, hey, this is the sun. It's got the same luminosity. Its luminosity value is the same. So once you understand that, notice down at the bottom, you have ways of controlling the radius and the temperature. Notice that right now this little symbol is right next to the 1 for the radius, meaning this star has the same radius as the sun. And notice that its temperature is also the same as the sun. Now, you can click on, there are some presets here. You can make a star that's 10 times as large, 100 times as large, etc., etc. Go back to 1. And you can also slowly increase it just by clicking the left and rights. And notice how the values change up here. Now, for the first few questions in the quiz, you're asked to compare other preset stars. And so, like I said, we've been set at the sun. I could choose, I don't know, Spica. And notice that this luminosity of Spica is much larger than the luminosity of our sun. In fact, it's 10,000 times as bright, okay, as luminous. And the question is why? And that's what you do for the first several questions is you choose different stars, preset, and then explain why the luminosity differs from the luminosity of the sun. Down at questions 5, 6, and 7, these are little ranking tasks, essentially testing your knowledge of this relationship. So in question 5, you actually have to play around with the numbers a little bit to create a star that has the same size as the sun, but a much hotter temperature. And so then you just essentially set the simulation to those values and answer what the luminosity of that fictional star would be. So it's a pretty straightforward interface and pretty cool to be able to compare other stars to our sun.